Welcome back to Rooted Grace Garden, your go-to for expert gardening tips, plant care, and creating beautiful, peaceful outdoor spaces. Have you ever planted something and it just didn't thrive? You watered it, gave it sunlight, and still something felt off.
Now, if that's happened to you, you are not alone. For the longest time, I thought I needed to try harder, water more, fertilize more, maybe even change the plants I was growing. But the real issue wasn't any of that. It was the soil. And once I understood that, everything changed. So today, I want to walk you through this in a way that's simple, practical, and actually makes sense. We're going to talk about container soil, raised bed soil, and in-ground garden soil. Each one has very different needs, and when you match the soil to the space and the space to the type of plants you use, your garden becomes so much easier to manage. Let's start with something that sounds basic, but it's where so many gardeners get tripped up. It's as simple as this. Not all soil is meant for all situations. And once you understand the purpose behind each type, you'll stop guessing and start choosing with confidence. Now, potting mix is designed specifically for containers, and here's something that surprises a lot of people. There's actually no real dirt in it. It's actually called a soilless medium. It's made up of lightweight materials like peat moss or coconut coir, bark, and perlite. And those ingredients are working together to create something very specific, and that's airflow. Because in a container, roots don't have the freedom to spread out like they do in the ground. So they rely on that mix to stay loose, breathable, and well-drained. Now, garden soil is completely different. This soil is designed for planting directly in the ground or even in raised beds. It's heavier, richer, and built to hold moisture and nutrients longer. But here's where many people run into trouble. They take garden soil and put it in containers. And what happens? It compacts. It holds too much water, and it slowly suffocates the roots. And then we have topsoil. Now, topsoil is simply the upper layer of earth. It can contain sand, silt, or clay, but it doesn't have much organic material in it, which means it's not ideal for growing plants on its own. Topsoil is best used for filling areas, leveling ground, building structure, but it shouldn't be used as your primary planting mix. Now let's slow down here for a moment, because container gardening is where soil matters the most. When you're growing in a container, you are completely in control of that environment, which means drainage depends on you, nutrients depend on you, airflow depends on you, and that all starts with the soil. Now, if you really want control and to save money, here's a beautiful, balanced mix. 1 part coconut coir or peat moss, 1 part perlite, 1 part compost. Let me tell you what each one does. The coir holds moisture without becoming dense. The perlite creates air pockets, and the compost feeds your plants slowly over time. Together, they create a living, breathing environment for your roots. Now, here's where we refine things just a bit. For succulents and cacti, you'll want faster drainage, so add extra perlite or sand. For vegetables like tomatoes and peppers, you'll want richer soil, something with calcium to support fruit development. Now, let me share something that I used to believe, and maybe you've heard this too. There's a gardening myth that you have to replace all the soil in your containers every single year. And on the surface, that sounds responsible, doesn't it? Fresh start, fresh soil, nothing carried over. But in real life, that can be expensive, time-consuming, and honestly, unnecessary for most home gardeners. Now, I understand the thinking behind it. Over time, potting mix can become compacted, lose nutrients, or even hold on to pests from the previous season. But here's what I do instead. At the start of each growing season, I remove the top 2 to 3 inches of soil along with any leftover roots or plant material. Then I check what's underneath. If the soil still feels loose, soft, and crumbly, I simply refresh it. I'll add a slow-release fertilizer and top it off with fresh potting mix. But if I reach down and that soil feels dense, hard, or compacted, that's when I know it's time to replace it completely. And that one simple habit has saved me time and money, and my containers have never been healthier. Raised beds sit right in between containers and in-ground gardening, so they need a balance of both worlds. Here's the formula I recommend: 50% compost, 40% topsoil or raised bed soil, 10% perlite or vermiculite. Now let's break that down. Compost feeds your plants and improves soil life. Topsoil gives structure and anchors roots, and perlite keeps everything light and workable. You might wonder why this matters. Raised beds don't have the deep buffering system of the ground, so if your soil is too heavy, water won't drain properly, and if the soil is too light, it will dry out too quickly. This blend keeps everything balanced. If your raised bed soil ever feels compact or water just sits on the surface instead of soaking in, that's your signal to add more aeration. A little perlite can make a big difference. Now let's talk about planting directly in the ground. You don't replace your soil, you improve it. And how do you improve it? Add 2 to 3 inches of compost and mix it into the top 6 to 8 inches of soil. The reason this works is that compost is one of the most powerful tools in gardening. It adapts to your soil. If your soil is clay heavy, it loosens it. If it's sandy, it helps hold moisture. What it does is it creates balance. As I said earlier, I used to think I had to dig everything out, start over completely. But once I started working with my soil instead of against it, gardening became so much easier. I was able to spend more time enjoying my garden instead of working it. Well, that's all of the time we have for today. Tell me in the comments, are you gardening in containers, raised beds, or in ground?
See you in the next video. Subscribe, like, and share your thoughts below for more simple gardening tips and beautiful garden ideas.